Hello, and welcome into the NFL Roundup podcast. As you can see this week, I'm your host, Shane Stanley, and I'm joined by my co-host, John Hepso. And so this week, we're going to get into the Super Bowl. We've got a big game this week. That's not the biggest news story of the week. Why can people see us this week?
Yeah, so me and the boys, we went to Cornerbrook, which is a ski resort here in Newfoundland, and we had a great time. A lot of the boys crashed a ton. I crashed a ton. It was a good time. But we came back over, and I started feeling sick on the way. I thought it was just flu from, just being out in the cold all weekend. No. Got home, COVID. So, here I am, stuck in the house for 10 days. Wasn't too bad, I had the flu a little bit, but feeling pretty fresh now after a couple days.
Yeah, it's it's a pretty shitty feeling. I imagine I'm lucky enough to not have it yet, but yeah, we said we'll play it safe this week. We're gonna do our Tuesday show per usual, and John messaged me just before, about an hour before I went by, and he's like, "Yeah, I better get a test because I'm feeling kind of crappy,"
Yeah,
and here we are. So yeah, dodged the bullet on that one.
yeah. So, Shane, let's just get right into our news topics here.
Yeah,
We had a few coaching hires, and the Flores kind of debacle happened there. That was seemed like a shit show.
yeah. I mean, it's a funny topic now because there's so many different ways that we can go with it. Like, there's the tanking, there's the like, will he ever coach again? There's the black coach, lack thereof, and it's just it's tough to really say how it's going to go. But a lawsuit against the NFL, I mean, they're probably going to try to bleed him out, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Flores doesn't have enough money unless he like makes a GoFundMe page like the Truckers of Ottawa or something, where he's up to
Yeah,
$10 million. But
I find that's the way these always go. Whenever it's one person versus the corporation, like no matter how much of a correct point they have, it really doesn't matter in the long run. I
yeah,
mean, they're just gonna string it out, string it out, string it out. The NFL has done this with stuff before, Deflategate and all that crap. It was the
concussion,
same
the
stuff. Yeah,
movie based on it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. All the CT, like eventually that's gonna be a bigger thing. So yeah, I mean, I can't see it going well on the lawsuit side for Flores, but I mean, whether or not he'll ever coach again is obviously the probably the biggest question when it comes. It seems like he doesn't care. He's willing to give up his career for it.
Couldn't care less. Yeah, but it's nuts. Last seven straight games to start the season. The owner's like, "Hey man, I'll give you 100,000 if you keep losing for every game." It's like, what the hell? He says, "No goddamn way. Win seven straight games."
No,
Like,
I actually think that was a few years ago when
oh,
they were
was it?
trying. Yeah, because they wanted to get Joe Burrow with the first pick, and then they ended up getting Tua because he still won a few games.
Wow.
So yeah, it ended up he didn't really do it. I guess. I mean, I can't like they were one of the worst teams in football. I think that was the year like New England went down there and beat them like 43-0 in week two.
Ugh.
I think yeah, that was the game that AB was on the Patriots. So Tom Brady was still there.
Okay.
So yeah, that was 2019.
Man, my camera keeps getting stuck just on my face. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, it's stuck on mine. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just keep her going. Yeah. So one of the hires that I thought was kind of strange and out of left field was the McDaniel hire,
Yeah.
the OC from San Francisco. He's never called plays. It was always on, Kyle Shanahan to do that.
Is that the
But
guy who said that he was like he calls himself interracial or something? Like the guy's white as a ghost. Like
he looks white to me.
yeah,
I don't
apparently
know.
I get his dad's black or something. I guess, but I mean that doesn't fix the problem. Like that's not what they're fighting for. It's not gonna fix everything. Just this one guy coming in with a black father. Like God love him, but I don't think
Yeah.
that's necessarily the fight. But we'll see. It's a pretty interesting hire. I mean, I think that was probably one of the more attractive jobs too to get, considering
Mm.
they're almost a playoff team. They went from one of the worst teams in the league, like I said, 2018, to a pretty improved one. I had them as a playoff team again this past year,
Yeah.
preseason. So I mean, I was pretty high on them. I think their roster got better. If anything, we'll see what they do at quarterback. And then yeah, that's probably the biggest piece of the puzzle for them. That they're one piece away from being a real serious playoff contender.
Yeah. And the Lovie Smith, well, that's a move in the right direction, obviously.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean,
Firing him.
it was between him and Flores, ironically too. So I mean, that
Okay.
was this might have been the nail in the coffin for Flores in the timing of when the lawsuit came out. That obviously scared some teams away, and at that point they probably had a couple guys that they were looking at. And once he did that, they said, okay, let's take the PR hit, step back, and they hired Lovie Smith instead.
Yeah, that's right. Well, uh, another interesting thing that happened last weekend, the Pro Bowl. Oh,
I don't know
what
about
a joke.
I don't know about interesting. It was
Yeah,
entertaining, I guess. I mean, if you like
in a
points.
weird way, yeah. But man, like the thing that capped it off for me was Mac Jones running 60 yards after the whistle was blown and then hitting the gritty in the end zone. It's like, oh my, come
when
off it.
when I didn't watch the game, so I caught what I could in highlights and whatever I caught, but I didn't know that the whistle had blown, so I just thought he got past like one guy, and then they're all like, yeah, okay, screw it, we'll just like a Make-A-Wish kid or something.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were just gonna let him go because the guy can't run at all. So I thought they were just gonna like, yeah, we'll let him have his moment and go on. And then I was like, man,
Then they humiliated him, called it back.
yeah. So I mean, the poor guy runs 70 yards for the only time in his career, and I'm calling that now. He's certainly not gonna do that again.
Never again, never again. But like some of the skills competition stuff, I thought that was, this stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite part of it. I didn't see a ton of that this year either. I think it was a Thursday or Friday. I thought it was a weird day.
It was Friday, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna go Saturday for the skill comp and Sunday for the game, but yeah. So I didn't catch a whole lot of it throughout the weekend. But yeah, no, I mean there was I think Mac won an accuracy contest there. I mean the pass catching ones are always my favorite.
Same. I like the DB one they had. Where
Yeah,
it was like they got to throw it through the little circles and DB's
Yeah.
got to break it up.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Because
pretty cool.
they used to do that that used to be just an offensive one where they're just
Right.
like that was kind of the accuracy part was like you get so many points for putting it through whatever. And I guess now they're putting a DB back there to try to stop it too, so it kind of makes it an event for both sides.
Getting them involved a little bit too.
Yeah, because
Sorry.
there's not really a way for them, and like, obviously with the game too, there was no defense being played at all besides Micah Parsons. Like hit Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes twice.
I seen Mac Jones ran up to him. He's like, "Run a little harder, 11. Run a little harder." Micah just gave him the stanky face and walked off. But
He's the only guy out on defense who's trying.
yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't the greatest thing on earth, but that's it.
So after 2 years of being called the football team,
Which I liked.
Washington, you like that?
I like it's just like basic, unique in a way. You know what I mean?
Like there is something to a simplistic name, but that is too simplistic.
Yeah, okay.
That, I think even if they took like the soccer approach and called them Washington FC, I think even that sounds better. Like actually just football FT, I guess, like Washington FT, like
Yeah.
like I don't know, just saying football team sounds so stupid.
Yeah, it does. I kind of agree. But I did like the unique side of it. After I heard the name, the Washington Commanders, I was like, oh, you should have just left as the football team.
Yeah, well, I was saying that I wanted it to be like an animal, like a wolf, or I don't know, something.
Wolf would have been sick.
Wolves or plural, and but I think they went with commander because I think it has something to do with like presidents and stuff, like commander in chief kind of thing. I think it's like is a presidential thing, so I think that's what they were going for. But yeah, no, it actually got leaked before they came out and said it. There's like I don't know if someone had a drone or something above their stadium. And
Yeah, they put like billboards and shit all over the stadium. And
yeah,
it
it was very strange. It almost looked like a high school or something. They had like all the like Bristol board cutouts of like all the letters up in the window for like everybody to see, and then a drone like zoomed in and caught it. So it was very bizarre.
Yes. Yeah, But that's Washington for you.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, I'm pretty content with the name. I said I like it, don't love it. That's kind of where I'm at, but it's better than football team.
Yeah. Well, we've been hearing a lot of stuff coming out of the Bucks now. The last, well, it's since they lost to the Rams. Like what's going to happen with all those people now?
Yeah,
Gronk, Lenny, Dominican Sue, JPP. All the main pieces to that team.
yeah. Like, well, I mean, they're looking at around, I believe it's 30 million or so in cap right now. I don't know that exact number off by heart right yet. When we get more into the off season, I'll dive into the cap situations and how they can create more for themselves because they certainly right now can't sign every single person back because pretty much every person on their list right now, like you said, Gronk, Leonard Fournette, JPP, Sue, Davis is a big one, Whitehead. I mean, they're all almost every one of them, I believe, is going to command about 10 million. Jensen is another one, about 10 million, and then Davis is looking closer to 20. So you add up the seven we listed plus the 20 on Davis, that's 80 million right there, and they just don't have it.
Somebody's got
So
to go.
yeah, somebody's got to go, or they got to create space in another form or way, and yeah, so we'll see how they get creative because every team usually comes up with some sort of funny trick, like the Saints last year, we mentioned before. Dummy contracts, extensions. I heard so far Mike Evans, don't be shocked if he gets an extension to keep him in Tampa for his whole career to free up a bit of more space. Sue's probably going to retire, in my opinion. I think JPP definitely has potential to. Fournette, I mean, do you pay a running back at this point? I mean, he's already had a contract. I mean, he's got to be getting close to 30 now. Do you keep him? Howard and Rojo, some of their secondary pieces are definitely gone. So basically, what we're wondering here at this point is, do people like that see the writing on the wall and try to get out before it gets a mass exodus and it's just their run dry? And even if they do, do they still have enough to win that division next year? Because that is probably the worst division in football, including them now.
Their ass, yeah. But as for quarterbacks who are technically available now,
Which is a ton. There's so
which
many.
is a bunch, yeah. And now, you got Kyler Murray coming out and unfollowing all the Arizona social media accounts, and he deleted all the pictures of him in Arizona gear. It's like, and he
He's
threw a touchdown to Mike Evans in the
and
Pro Bowl. It's like,
I think he had that in his story or something on one of the social medias that he like said he unfollowed everybody and the team and whatnot and then shared him and Evans, and certainly their doors open right now for quarterback options. Obviously he's under contract.
yeah, it would have to be a trade.
Can't imagine Arizona would make a move so silly. Wouldn't put
But
it
like
past.
you look at Seattle. Would they ever trade Russell Wilson to the Bucks?
Yeah,
Because the Bucks are a good team. You know what I mean?
the thing about Seattle that I heard this week that I haven't heard yet was the crazy cap hit that they would take this season specifically. I think it's like 30 million or something in dead money, but next year it would he's either free or it would be a little cap hit compared to this year. So I don't think Russ is moving. I did previously, but I think it would absolutely cripple him to do it this year. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, don't expect Russ to go anywhere.
Okay. And then you got Aaron Rodgers. Does he follow in Brady's footsteps and go to the Bucks? Is that a possibility? Junk division. You stay in the NFC, where the talent is not as great as all the young quarterbacks in AFC. Is that a place for him?
Well, just a quick mention too. We're doing this on Friday again now rather than Tuesday. So we did find out in the time elapsed that he won MVP last night. So he's coming off back-to-back MVP seasons now. We had assumed that it was going to go this way. A lot of people seem to think Brady got robbed, and I'm not going to say I'm one of them. I mean, I get it. I don't necessarily disagree with how it came out, but overall, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to go get a back-to-back MVP quarterback? I mean, you can't say he's on the downswing. He's losing his top target in Green Bay, almost guaranteed. I can't imagine they keep him and Adams. Adams is going to go somewhere. I actually heard this week as well that Adams is very interested in going to Vegas with Derek Carr for some reason. Not sure why, if they have some sort of college relationship that I was unaware of, but apparently he's very interested in going to Vegas with Derek Carr. So, I mean,
Jesus, okay.
if we're going the route that he's interested in Vegas and Rodgers is interested in Denver, then they're on two opposite sides in the same division. The Chargers are good. The Chiefs are good. I mean, my God.
Yeah. And well, I mean, not Oakland, sorry, Vegas. To me, they're not a great team. They get Devontae Adams. Maybe they win an extra game. Like, does he make that much of a difference?
Well,
Does he win 3 extra games because of
if
injuries? Like,
if Rodgers goes to Denver, and again, that's a huge assumption at this point, but assuming he does, Derek Carr, I almost name a quarterback that's going to go there and is not going to be fourth on that depth chart, or not on the depth chart, but in a ranking of the quarterback in the AFC West. I mean, he's the fourth. I mean, it's a wide gap too between those four.
yes, it is.
So, like, do they make a quarterback move to? But if he's interested in going there with Carr specific, I can't imagine they would.
Yeah, I can't see it either. But to me, he's going to try and follow Rodgers wherever he goes. Whatever he's been saying has been, pretty accurate. With wherever he goes is like where I'm going to go. He's my quarterback. I don't want to play with anyone else. I just can't see it going another way.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's in a position too where he's probably going to get offered the biggest contract he's ever going to get offered in his career. So how much does he leverage that over playing with a specific quarterback? I mean, he's been playing with Rodgers now. He was playing back in the 2014 game when they played the Patriots. I remember I watched the back last offseason, and I couldn't believe I seen him back in 2014. I said I didn't realize Adams was in the league this long. It was his rookie year, but he's been still in the league for 7 years. So I mean, he's been with Rodgers 7 years, hasn't panned out yet. Maybe he wants to do something new.
Yeah, really though. Does he forfeit money for competing, or does he just go get the bag?
Yeah, and I mean, I certainly can't blame a guy for that long, and
especially a wide receiver. They don't stay in this Pro Bowl range very long.
No, and I mean Vegas was a playoff team this year. Now they squeaked in the last minute. What do you say? It's a Chargers stupidity, and yeah, they gave the Bengals a fight in the wildcard round. So to say that they're not a team that's like Adams as the top player in his position, he's thinking, okay, if I go here, that's a cherry on top. I'll put them right where they need to be. I mean, that's probably his mindset. I'm sure he's got confidence up to the roof. Like, why not? Why wouldn't he think that?
Yeah. It's a winner's mentality. Yeah. I can go and make the difference. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, if everybody leaves in Green Bay, everybody leaves in Tampa, it kind of opens the gate a little bit for the NFC West. And, well, there's really a potential two-team race. I mean, we mentioned, like, we think if Dallas is ever going to make a move, it's now with a week in NFC, should everything go the way we think it will, and whoever wins the NFC West. So our question now, when we look at the NFC going forward and into this weekend, does the Super Bowl and certainly the NFC run through the NFC West winner, or at least those two teams?
See, for me, it's tough to say right now. Looking at teams this year specifically, for the last 12 months, yes, going forward, if they stayed the same, yes, it would consistently go through that division. Because you got San Fran, you got the Rams, the Cardinals, and who's that in Seattle, of course. 4, capable quarterbacks. But I did look at Jimmy G, kind of like I look at Derek Carr, if Aaron Rodgers were to go to Denver, 4 great quarterbacks, but the odd man out, But Russell Wilson looking to leave, Kyler looking to leave. Does this just open the gates for Matthew Stafford?
Well, that's what's interesting about this. Like I was saying in the NFC West comparison, you've got, Rodgers, Mahomes, or whatever order you want to put them to, Rodgers, Mahomes, Herbert, and then there's a wide gap, and then Carr. Who's the best quarterback in that division? Because that's interesting. That's a tough choice. I mean,
I'm willing to put Mahomes there right now.
No. Looking at the NFC West, because that's
the West.
That's interesting because all of them are good, but I don't know if they're up to great status. Wilson's declining, if anything. Murray's questionable. He's very small, tough to build a franchise around. Stafford's an interception waiting to happen. It's and Jimmy G. I mean, we don't even know if he's going to be there and what kind of move they're going to make if he's not. So, I mean, it's really questionable. Lance, is he ready? It seems like they're more than happy to sit him again next year. So he's 2 years on the bench. I don't think they're going to get Brady or anybody like that, which they would happily ship Jimmy G out of there for someone like that. But now at this point, who do you get that's better than him if they're going to the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, it's tough. Like we talked about, there's a lot of quarterbacks, up in the air. What's going to happen? But ultimately, I can see them all staying put.
Yeah, I do too. I see the NFC West completely. Like Wilson was the one that I see moving the most, but after hearing this week that the cap hit that the team's going to take 30, 40 million, I just cannot see him moving. Kyler Murray is, that's simply they'll slap him on the wrist and say, "Come on, get it together. You're here with us. You're under contract." That's silly for quarterbacks to have one bad year, or not even a bad year. He was a favorite for MVP halfway through this past season. There's no reason for him to be kicking up a fuss. He's got a great offense, got a great team, loads of talent there. They should have very similar to the talent level next year. It's silly for him to get on with that. Stafford, obviously the Rams are going to be a heavy favorite next year. The Niners, we'll see what they do with the quarterback, and Russ is still going to be Russ to a certain degree. He's in decline, I think. I think they're clearly the fourth team in that division now. But, yep. I mean, can they make some moves? I mean, that defense is really what's holding them back. I think they got a pretty solid offense around them. So we'll see what they can do this offseason. Maybe they'll get better. But, I mean, it's still four solid teams, and especially with a weak NFC, why not? Why can't Seattle make a move for a wild card round? You never know, but yep. It's definitely the solid division in NFC running forward.
The one wild card for me is Deshawn Watson. Does any team in that division or any other division, do they take a chance on Deshaun Watson? Like, he could potentially be a top 5 quarterback and change the entire course of your franchise,
If they do make a move with him, and that's a great point you brought up, because if being in the AFC and how stacked the AFC has been, I imagine they would prefer to trade him to the NFC, and the NFC with such a weak quarterback ranking right now, assuming Brady and Rodgers will not be there. I mean, it is a wide open field. Can the Saints or somebody pick him up? That would be a team at the top of my list that I think should
like
make
the
a move.
Yeah. I would like the Saints. Now, they don't have Sean Payton, which changes things. And
no.
Do they have Kamara going forward? Do they have Michael Thomas going forward?
Kamara's completely a wild card at this point. That is a great point too in news this week that totally slipped my mind that he had his instance with a nightclub in where was the Pro Bowl to?
Vegas.
Vegas. There you go.
So I believe 6 o'clock in the morning.
6 in the morning, around a group of guys, drunk as hell. I'm sure, nothing good happens. So we'll see what happens with him. But I mean, I don't think the Saints are going to fall off a cliff with the coach thing, because when the Saints beat the Bucs 9-0 in Tampa, shut them out defensively, their defensive coordinator is now the head coach. It was Dennis Allen's defense, and now he's the head coach. He head coached that night because Sean Payton had COVID. So he was a coach stepped in that night with about 3 days prep and shut out Tampa at home.
That's pretty cool, man.
He's I don't think they're going to have a huge drop off. I mean, there might be a bit of growing pain, but I think that's more on the talent than it is him.
Yeah, agreed. But I do want to just hit on Kamara for another quick sec there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was looking to be charged with battery, and I think he could potentially get 1 year to 5 years in jail.
Yeah, well, it was 1 year to 5. Like, his bail was only like $5,000 or something, but I think it was just like them keeping him overnight, I guess, with everything that was going on.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So from what I heard on First Take, and I never heard anybody really explain what happened besides Stephen A. on this, and he said him and what appeared to be 3 other guys just stomped a guy for, I don't know what caused it initially, but they must have hit him. He fell down, and then him and 3 other guys were just stomping him while he was on the ground.
One guy stomped him 16 times in the ribs, in the face.
Yeah.
Man, the buddy could have lost his life.
Yeah, easily. I mean, you get out of hand with these things, and it's just not, at a time like this, like, he's not. This didn't happen in New Orleans. This happened in Vegas. He was going to be there for one. This is a guy he's never going to see again in his life. Yeah. Why go through all this? And I understand. You bring your boys down and you're having the Pro Bowl and it's a big vacation. But I don't understand what caused it in the first place. Like, like I don't know if you've ever heard Shannon Sharp say too. I'd never even consider this. Like he said, when he gets into an elevator, if there's a young woman getting in the elevator, and it's just going to be two of them in there, he'll step out because it's his word against his, and that's just something I wouldn't even think of it. That wouldn't even cross my mind. But it's so smart, and like that's the kind of head you got to have on you as an athlete, and just that's like Kamara, the complete opposite in that scenario.
Yeah, we had to take a brief intermission there. I was trying to get my camera fixed. Had Shane left out by himself there for a bit. But now that we're back, we'll get right into Super Bowl topics.
Yeah, so we wanted to look at pretty much every facet of the game. Last week we kind of gave a brief overview of like how we thought this might go. We're going to get a bit more depth with it now, obviously, today. So we wanted to look at kind of like a tail of the tape, we called it. And you see that a lot in boxing or MMA. Like they'll list up all their, height, weight, and reach and all that. It's kind of the same thing. We're going to go their offense, each offense versus each defense, who has the advantage, the other offense versus the other defense, who has the advantage, coaching advantage, special teams,
kicking, etc.
So on and so forth. Yeah.
First, there was a couple storylines that we kind of wanted to get into as well, which is like between Stafford or Burrow, do they absolutely have to win this game? Like, what's the chances they get back to this game?
Well, going back to our last topic, I mean, like the Rams are going to be a heavy favorite, I think, going forward into next year. They could be better, which is scary.
They get like Odell back. Woods.
They signed Odell. Woods immediately goes down. Fresh news coming out an hour ago. Higbee's out. Higbee will not play.
He is out.
He's out. Henderson is in at running back, so they got a lot of backs. Uzama for the Bengals looks like he's leaning towards playing. So, in a tight end matchup, Cincinnati gets their guy back, and Higbee's already ruled out. So, his must have been a little bit worse, some swelling or whatever. But they had the same injury, so it's a little bit surprising.
One thing to cover up that injury, though, was the tight end for the Rams 2 weeks ago now, I guess.
Yeah.
He played unreal. He had 5 catches, 50 yards, so, he just stepped in and filled that Higbee role perfectly.
And, I mean, you could look at that from both ways. Like, one, the defense going against them certainly did not game plan for him. No. So you can look at it that way, but also the Rams didn't expect to use him and called a lot of plays for him, obviously, if he had 5 catches. So it's pretty interesting to see how they use him going forward. But, I mean, this is going to be probably not a tight end game anyways, looking at the Rams. So we'll see how they do use them, but, I mean, they've got other weapons that they want to go to.
Yeah. So, for me, I don't think either of them have to win this game. Because I think Burrow's got, an upward trend coming. He might be there. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say 3 times in his career. 3 times, 3, 4 times maybe. And it is being very generous, but I do see a Brady gene in him, you know what I mean? It's strange. And like you said, Stafford, I think he will be back.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely the more likely of the two, I think, to go next year.
Yeah.
Specifically, we'll kind of see how the NFC grows. I'm sure they're going to get better. Like we said, he's in a very tough division too. So like, it's almost hit or miss, because if they get the number 1 seed next year, they're almost a shoo-in, I think, to be a very heavy favorite coming out. Or like this year, they could kind of falter at the very end. Maybe someone, the 49ers, who again have had their number besides the NFC Championship game last week. Or maybe the Cardinals, like I said, they're bringing a lot of talent back, as we mentioned earlier. Like, they're going to be a team, maybe they squeak up and win, and then all of a sudden you're on the road for the entire playoffs, the Rams. So we'll see. And Burrow, I mean, we've touched on the topic a couple times, how stacked the AFC is. It's just, if Rodgers goes, it's just going to get worse. I mean, it's not going to be. I almost don't see an AFC team going back. Besides the Chiefs, maybe is the team that's like the most likely, and they couldn't do it this year. So
Burrow needs offensive line before we start talking about anything else.
Yeah, I imagine that's going to be a very heavy topic of discussion for them going into the offseason and the draft and free agency. Hard to build a line through free agency too. You don't want to waste a lot of your cap on your line. I mean, your tackles obviously are gonna afford a lot, and like I said, even a center nowadays is $10 million
Yeah.
off the free agent market. You're better off drafting. I mean, the saving grace in that is you can very easily get guards and centers in the 6th, 7th round, and they end up being starters for you quite fast. So
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
they can build their line, I think, through free agency or through the draft. Pardon me. So expect them to take probably 2 to 3 linemen in the draft, and
Just
maybe
take a bunch of
one at free
swings.
agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the Super Bowl, we've got the youngest combo of head coaches ever. Man, is this to stay? These young coaches. You see Belichick maybe on the way out. Andy Reid's getting old. Pete Carroll. You know?
It's really the end of an era for a lot of things. We see it with the quarterbacks. I mean, these other teams, Tomlin, Harbaugh, like I said, Pete Carroll, a lot of these guys that have Sean Payton, a lot of these guys that have been around a while. I mean, Arians don't have a whole lot left. Like, there's McCarthy in Dallas is going to be gone. So he's not necessarily old, but I mean, he's was coaching back a decade ago. So you don't see that. But I mean, all these young analytic coaches, that's kind of the way sports is going, not just the NFL. So I mean, we'll see a lot more of these guys. Gave the Brandon Staley of the Chargers a lot of grief for a lot of his decisions.
We roasted him in one of the podcasts.
But I certainly expect there's going to be more of his generation to come, kind of guys that are more statistical, analytic based, and that's the way of sports right now.
Yeah, agreed, man. So let's get right into the tail of the tape here, Shane, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Bengals offense versus the Ram defense.
So the Bengal offense is good. Like they're good. They're top 10 in yards. They're 7th against the throwing the ball. I mean, obviously you look at their 2 guys on the outside. Very good. I mean, Boyd, Uzama, Mixon, there's playmakers all over the place. I think Mixon is actually the X factor of their offense going into this game.
Yes, they need to run the ball to be able to win this game.
You definitely have to run the ball, slow down that pass rush. I mean, that's the scariest part of the Rams defense right now. I mean, the weak point, obviously, we said their offensive line has just not been good. I mean, this front 4, or even their linebacking core too, if they're sending blitzes, they usually don't even have to. That's the thing. And then they just play coverage in the back end. Ramsey, probably the best corner in the game. I mean, this defense is made of playmakers all over the place. Floyd, Donald, I mean, Von Miller. Where does it end with them?
There's no holes, really.
There's not. And I
maybe
mean,
their linebacking crew is maybe not number 1 in the league, but they're still top 10, That's all you can ask for from a defense.
The Bengals, too, are going to want to get the ball out quick and allow their receivers to get out in space, make some guys miss if possible, and try to create some yardage that way. I'm expecting a lot of screen passes, a lot of slants. I think their receivers are fairly good blockers for the most part. Mixon is pretty good at picking up rushers on blitzes. I mean, they've certainly got the pieces there. P. Ryan caught a screen last week, so they've got multiple guys from the backfield that can catch the ball and make damage with it. So,
ultimately,
overall,
who do you give the edge to?
I think I might slightly give it to the Bengals. Honestly, it's a tough decision, and I think they match up well. I think it really, like I said, the X factor is Mixon as a single player, but as a single matchup, I mean, obviously you're looking at Ramsey versus Chase, and if Chase can win that matchup, it's going to be a long day for that defense.
If they just go one-on-one, Ramsey and Chase, you saw Mike Evans beat him deep.
Mike Evans
a massive moment in that game. They basically had to score on that play to, keep the possibility alive. And
that was really,
yeah.
Had they not completed that play, that game would have been over a lot sooner than what it was. So.
Yeah. And, I'm going to give the edge to the Bengals as well. I think their receiving core is, if not top 2, then top 5 for sure in the league. Right up there with Tampa Bay. And the Rams. The Rams, their wide receiving core is great as well. You can't slight them. But so now that we've got that done, let's move on to the Rams offense versus Bengals defense.
I think this one's tough. I think both sides of it. If you look at the Bengals offense versus the Rams defense, I gave a slight edge to the Bengals, but like I said, it was not easy. It was not an easy choice. It's very you can see both sides of it from a defensive side and an offensive side. This one's the same way. I mean, Cup unstoppable force this year. Odell's been a touchdown machine. He's over 100 yards last game. He's really getting some confidence going. Higbee gone is a big loss, but as we mentioned, the backup tight end Blanton he played well in the NFC Championship. They got Akers, they got Michelle, Henderson, they got three solid backs. They got a really good offense, and I really couldn't tell you probably five people on the Cincinnati defense. They played fantastic through this playoff.
As a unit, they've been absolutely great.
That's exactly it.
It's like a New England defense.
They're just a well-oiled machine. They're no what's that saying? No part is greater than the sum of the parts altogether.
Yeah.
There's not the one like
the sum of all parts or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I was on the right path.
You should have wrote that one down, Shay.
But when you look at the Rams, like you can pinpoint, okay, Ramsey's the guy in the backfield, Donald's the guy in front, Floyd's the guy in the middle. There's layers to their defense where you can okay, lock in, that's the guy, and then we're going to go elsewhere, or we're going to try to find a matchup to exploit him. There's really not that way with Cincinnati. It's kind of a consistent unit all around. Their safeties are probably their top unit if I had to give one to them, but their pass rush has been good too. I mean, they got to Patrick Mahomes late in that game for the 17-yard sack. A lot of that was on him. But, looking at their team as a full unit, they've been consistent. Like I said, they haven't allowed a team to get any more than 24, I believe, up to this point in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Every team. So they shut down. They played some mighty good offenses, including that Chief team. So it's hard to see. I will give a very slight advantage to the Rams, actually, after all that said, just because I think you can exploit a machine rather than, okay, we're going to pick on one guy. Yep. I think it's easier to put Kupp against a guy that we don't know a whole lot about and expect him to win that matchup.
Now, for me, when I look at defense, or just look backwards at the defensive player of the years and the correlation between that and team success, it's always been J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, not the greatest. Like, the Rams did make Super Bowl, of course, but prior to that, they've been good but not great. You know what I mean? The defenses for me that usually win are units like Bill Belichick's defense. You don't know any one player, but every single one of them move as a group, and they all have each other's backs, and everybody knows what the play needs to be. There's no freelancing. The coaches call a play. You're in a position. Cover that position to the best of your abilities. Trust your man behind you. And to me, this is what Cincinnati is. And their front four, to me, this is interesting. Their front four, Hendrickson, unbelievable. And he's really one of the only names that I do know. But he's great. And he just opens up so much for those three other random guys that I don't know. But they can get sacks. And Matthew Stafford, unbelievable against the blitz. I just don't think that they got a blitz. I think that's going to take away from Matthew Stafford's ability to find the open guy quickly. Like Patrick Mahomes, they dropped eight DBs, safeties, and corners, 46% of the time in the second half. And Mahomes was scrambling around, looking around. He held onto the ball for 10 seconds on multiple possessions, ended in sacks or incompletes.
Yeah, and I mean, like when it comes down to that, sometimes it is a coverage sack. Rather than the front four. So their front four doesn't have to be necessarily
there in 3 seconds.
Yeah, they're not pulling the 2015 Broncos and getting there in two seconds, right? So I mean, I think this game it's looking like it's probably going to be one with offense as much as you say two good defenses too.
Yep.
And I'll get into this now in a minute just to compare side by side both offenses and both defenses, how statistically in the NFL they're both nearly mirror images.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily say that when you look at the talent and the names on the back of the jersey on both sides. You think, okay, the Rams are an all-star team. and the Bengals are the little engine that good to this point. No,
Yeah.
nobody thought they would be here, but it's on paper when you look at these two teams, NFL's statistically ranked, they're very close.
So for me, just to move off this topic, I'm giving the Rams a very slight edge. This is like 51-49 for me. Very nip and tuck, you know.
Yeah.
So we got the Bengals offense, both sides, and then we both got the Rams offense, basically. So why don't you run through those stats, Shane?
Yeah, so looking at their offense first, they're both top 10 in total yards, and the Rams are 9th and the Bengals are 10th, and the Rams are 386.8 and the Bengals are 385.2. They're separated by less than 2 yards.
Wow, man.
So I'm just going to go down.
This is the full season, right?
This is total yards, full season.
Right.
And now I'm just gonna I won't get into the actual yards in each one, but this is just their ranks. Pass yards, the Rams are 5th, the Bengals are 7th. Rushing yards, the Bengals are 23rd, the Rams are 25th. Points, they're deadlocked tied, 27.1 points of offense, tied for 7th. Two teams tied in the regular season, matching up in the Super Bowl. It's deadlocked. Third down percentage, the Rams, this is where they have the advantage. They're 7th, the Bengals are 16th. And there's about a 4% gap between there. So like that's going to be the money down. The Rams statistically have done it. The Bengals have not so much. So maybe that's the key down to watch for. So moving over to the defensive side, again, very close. Total yards separated by less than 1 yard, 366.5 to 367.1. The Rams are 17th. The Bengals are 20th. Passing yards on defense, the Rams are 22nd. The Bengals are 26th. Rushing yards, the Rams are 6th. The Bengals are 5th. Points, tied for 15th. The Bengals are tied for 17th. Third down percentage, the Rams are 21st. The Bengals are 22nd. It's deadlocked. It's absolutely mirror images of each other.
You almost couldn't ask for a better game in this sense.
You wouldn't think it. When you look at these two rosters and the talent, it is unbelievable. And I didn't even know those stats until I just looked it up before we hopped on. I said, my God, that is razor thin.
When you mentioned it before, just off air, I couldn't believe what you were saying. It's like, now, you mentioned talent, but I think it's more of big names, right? Quote unquote. It's we just don't know the Bengals yet. We never cared about them for years. Their defense is full of first, second, and third round picks.
And that has a lot to do with why we don't know necessarily the names on defense. We kind of know the names on offense because those are the highlights you see every day.
Exactly.
Those are the fantasy stats we keep track of in our fantasy week.
That's right.
So overall, I mean that's how close of a matchup this is looking. So I mean, on paper, you look at like these, as you said before, 51-49 when we're picking these advantage matchups. It's razor thin. It's going to be very, very close. So we had a few more that we wanted to look at besides offense versus defense.
Yeah. So for the coaching advantage, for me, I've seen Sean McVay coach in this game before, and he had a great plan coming out of the half in New England, or not coming into the half, but for the first half. Basically a 3-3 game, you know. Nip and tuck. They couldn't do anything on offense, but the Patriots also couldn't do anything on offense. So it was a great defensive plan. But he never changed anything. He didn't change anything to do with the game plan coming out of the half. And this is where New England does damage, right? It's okay, you're going to keep doing what you're going to do. Well, we're just going to change everything that we do and stomp you, basically. Right? It's ended up Jared Goff couldn't get it done against that defense. And Sean McVay was stubborn, and he has a massive ego. You see him running up and down the sidelines constantly, getting up on his high horse. And is that something he's going to do in this game? I can't see it on such a big stage. If he does, I'll be shocked, but I'll like it because I know the Bengals will see it, and it'll get every single one of those players fired up. Zach Taylor, he's just taking Joe Burrow's lead. Joe Burrow's leading that team. He's just saying, I'm along for the ride. I just got to say the right things, do the right things, and we'll be fine, right? To me, I give the edge to the Rams unless McVay does something terribly uncharacteristic.
I think with the thing that's interesting about McVay specifically is when we get to the fourth quarter, and we've seen that he's done this so far in the playoffs, will he trust Stafford to make a play? because there's a lot of coaches that kind of take the ball out of the quarterback's hands. Look at the Atlanta Super Bowl against New England. Look at the Chiefs and the 49ers and Jimmy's errors in the fourth quarter. A lot of times there's some cold feet in the fourth quarter, and do you make those key decisions? McVay traditionally has made bad ones, like you said in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Tampa Bay came back on them from 27-3, so obviously they had a huge letdown there. They were down 10 points going into the fourth quarter against the 49ers. But the thing is, they won those past two games.
They've overcame us.
Yes, and the reason I bring up trusting Stafford is he has trusted Stafford. When you're down 10 points, you trust your quarterback to make some plays. When it was 27-27, as much as you say, okay, the pressure came off Stafford, he allowed him to make. I know it was a lapse in coverage, but he made a big play to Cup. He trusted his team to go down. There was only 40 seconds. He could have easily took that into overtime. He didn't have to go for it. He had the balls to do so. So I'll commend him on that, and he's won games. So I'll give him that. I do give him the advantage. As you said, I think out of the two, I think Zach Taylor will trust Burrow more so than McVay. So I think that if there is a way for the Bengals to out-strategize them, I think it might be in the fourth quarter. What plays do you make on the fly? What adjustments do you make? Because McVay, with some errors in the past and some lapses in the fourth quarter, does he start doubting himself a little bit?
Yeah. So who do you give the edge to?
I'll give it to the Rams because I think they've been winning these games lately. Even though they've had some lapses in judgment, but they've been coming out on the winning side. So I'll kind of give them a pass for those, at least this playoffs, especially with them winning games.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel the thing with the Bengals, and it's going to lead into my kicker point too. I don't think they can be scared because they're not supposed to be here. They're kind of playing with house money a little bit.
They are.
So I don't think they necessarily have that fear.
I don't think they have, like you said, there's no expectations whatsoever. It's just we're the young, full of piss and vinegar young boys, and it's like we're just here to play, man. If we can win this game, it's the greatest thing ever. But we're expected to lose. So ultimately, if we do, it's not going to be a tarnish on our legacy or anything. It's just, it's what everybody expected. But it'll be so much greater if they can do it, if they can pull it off.
But when you're presented this opportunity too, I mean, they haven't won a playoff game in over 30 years. They've won 3 already this year. I mean, you as much as you say, okay, we're just happy to be here. I mean, as Patriot fans, we know you get greedy. I don't care if you had a championship last year. I don't care if you had it for 4 straight years. You always want the next one. If you're there, you want to take advantage and you want to win it. And when you get this far and lose, it does not feel good.
No.
It don't feel good as a fan. I don't imagine it feels great as a player or a coach.
10 times worse.
Going back to some of our earlier topics too, do they need to win this game? Everybody's got to win this game. When you're here, you got to take advantage. You don't know if you're ever going to be here again. Yep. So absolutely, you put everything on the line. And like we said, in the fourth quarter, that's when it's going to matter. That's the money time. Who's going to show up?
So who's going to show up? That's a good question. For our next topic, who has the kicking advantage?
Well, like I said before, I give the edge to Cincinnati here. I do. I really think. And when we get to our score pick now in a few minutes, you'll see I do have a bit of a kicking game.
I got a kicking game too.
I think the kickers will come down, especially when the score and the time and these coaches, it gets tight. You're gonna have to trust your quarterback. You're gonna have to trust your kicker. And there might be some long kicks. There might be some sweaty palms and some nerves in these moments. And like I said, I don't think Cincinnati necessarily has the same fear. Gay has struggled a little bit during these playoffs too. As great of a regular season as he's had, he's been cut. He was on the Bucs a few years back, and he got cut because he really came on for the past 2 years, but he hasn't really been a traditional guy. So does them doubts come in his head in those moments where he's suffered in previous seasons? And this young kicker on Cincinnati, I've never seen anybody with more confidence as him. I don't think he's scared. Those doubts will not be in his head.
He's got ice in his veins, man. I've seen him on the Pat McAfee show. And Pat McAfee, of course, the punter. Maybe one of the greatest punters of all time. He was great.
Absolutely.
But,
he was throwing hits and everything.
Yeah. And, he looks over and he sees that he's got Indianapolis Colts ball sitting on his desk. And he's like, yeah, grab that ball for a second. And he picks it up. And he's like, look at Adam Vinatieri's playoff records, because it's a ball. It's like a blue and white ball. And he turned around and it's all the kicking records for Adam Vinatieri. He says, yeah, look at the playoff record. So it's 14. He's kicked 14 field goals in one postseason, and that's the record. McPherson said, I need 3. 3 field goals to break that. Pat McAfee's like, no, chill out, young buck. Vinatieri had a long career, whatever. And he's like, I'm just saying, right? So I would look out for this young fella.
For his sake, he's probably hoping he doesn't have to kick a whole lot besides a few one-pointers instead of 3.
Yeah, no doubt. But if it is put into his hands, I got them 100%. I got the Bengals winning the kicking advantage for sure, and it's telling in my score.
Yeah, so I feel pretty good. So I've picked, I believe, the Bengals for 2 matchups and the Rams for 2. So as we said, it's a pretty close matchup on paper.
There you go. So Shane, let's get into it here. What do you got? You want me to go first, or I can go first if you want?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So the way I see it, I got the Bengals 26-23.
Oh my.
Okay. So this is 2 touchdowns for the Bengals.
Yeah.
And 4 field goals.
4 field goals.
I feel like the Rams are gonna, the defense that's there is a vaunting defense, and I feel like they're gonna keep them out of the end zone. But I do see a missed extra point on the Rams side. So
okay.
Okay.
And that could certainly play in if it does come down, because at that point they're down 3 points, so that point would be big.
So that gives you 2 touchdowns for the Rams and 3 field goals. I can see maybe a missed field goal, a missed extra point. Something weird is going to happen in this game, because I've seen too many games like this with Brady, and it's just there's something in the air. I don't know. You can't explain it. It's intangible. It's like it's meant to be or something. And it's just because the entire team believes that they can win because this man believes you can win. It's in everybody's veins then, in everyone's mind. There's not a single shred of doubt. And ultimately, I think that's what's going to win them this game. I have no stats to present. I have nothing else. Just the fact that this team is riding an insane high right now. Going from absolute dog shit franchise. You guys are the worst. Just go home. You're never in the playoffs. You never win a playoff game. Joe Burrow comes back in his first year fully starting. Bam. Super Bowl. There's just something about it. You can go ahead, Jay.
So I want to make 2 points. Number one, our score is miraculously close as expected.
Nice.
And once again, we don't talk about this previously. We just go into it. I want to go back to something I said previous to the AFC Championship where I absolutely crapped on the Bengals.
Classic.
Before I went on my rant about Kansas City, I said, who they? Because who they going to be? They going to look like a high school team is what I said. They going to say who they, and they going to look like a high school team. Well, yeah. They's going to be world champions.
You got them too?
That's who they. I do have Cincinnati in this game. 26-24.
Holy shit, dude.
26-24. Wow. Yeah, I was gonna pick 27-24 originally, but I do think it's gonna come down to a kicker game. It does give you a bit of wiggle room if there is a missed extra point. If they go for 2 or something late in the game. It does give you that bit of wiggle room. It might even be a missed long kick at the very end to win it for the Rams going the other way. Or it could be a game-winning kick for McPherson. So we shall see. But yeah, no, I see a very similar matchup. I think Mixon's going to be able to get some success on the ground, at least in the red zone. They may need him getting down there, bleeding some clock at the very end, getting down towards the very end when you may need to get some yardage for a kick. He did it in overtime versus the Chiefs. Higbee being out was a big part of it too. With me, they're missing a point, missing a big piece of their offense. I think you throw the house at Cooper Kupp and try to slow him down.
Agreed. Safety.
I don't think
corner man.
I don't think they necessarily do it completely. I do see him scoring in this game for LA. But when it comes down to it, yeah, I do think, as we said, it's going to be a very kicker-heavy game. I think McPherson, like I said, has been money. I think they can move the ball enough that he's not kicking 50-yarders all day. They get a couple touchdowns, as we said, and it could be 4 field goals, or it could be something funny like a 2-point conversion or an extra point or something gone wrong. On the Rams side, I see 3 touchdowns, them with a little bit more success, but a couple more punts throughout the game, and then one kick for Gay to make up for 24. So that's what it comes down to. It could be a kick at the end either way. I mean, that's
got
the
a
way
last second field
these
goal.
playoffs. That's the way these playoffs have gone, right? So I mean, why not end the same way? A walk-off kick for somebody. I think it's going to be McPherson, who they world champs.
Yep. And he gets the record with the final kick.
Yeah, he does.
Beats
yeah,
Vinatieri with 4. Yeah.
to break that tie.
To break the tie, yeah. That'd be sick. Well,
Phenomenal.
that's it. That's our Super Bowl episode. I hope you enjoyed. Shane, this is going to be a huge weekend. Too bad we can't watch the game over here at the house, though, because, you know, get the old COVID.
Yeah, it was unfortunate timing because I think that's like one of your last days too that you're set down. So we'll figure something out for that game. But yeah, no, I mean it's gonna be a good one. I'm looking forward to the halftime show more on this one that I have in recent years.
Yeah.
It should be a good one. I don't think we watched last year. We're too busy stuffing our face at halftime. So, as most people do, I mean that's what the Super Bowl is all about: is getting some beers and good food and enjoying the game. And I think it's gonna be a good one to enjoy this Sunday.
Cool. All right, Shane, let's call it.
All right. So like and share as always. If you guys like our content, it's our first time seeing us. I don't know how often we're gonna do this.
Come on, we're awesome. You gotta like it. Come on.
It's different. It's different seeing a face to the name for those who listen who don't know us to get to see. I guess I know we got some listeners from farther away. So
we had one in China or Korea. Do they even understand what we're saying? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. Hey man,
we'll take it.
The NFL's worldwide, man. There's so many people who watch it, and there's like I said, 100 million people watching the game this weekend. So
sure that.
I mean, it's everybody. Yeah, so we'll take everybody we can get. Share it to every country. I don't care what it is, China or wherever.
Agreed, man.
So yeah, share it around, like and share and all that fun stuff. And like I said, hopefully we'll be in person again coming up with these next couple, and it'll slow down after. We'll be back next week for a recap, and then we'll probably give an update next week as to what we're doing going into the off-season stuff. But yeah, we'll be breaking it down piece by piece as it comes along. Obviously the big stuff that comes up each month, but again, we'll get into that more as it comes. So yeah.
Right on. Thanks for listening.
All right, good stuff.
Ciao for now.
Ciao.